Hope you all had a great day. At this time, I would like you to all stand as we present colors and listen to Miss Starr sing again for us. Thank you.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting, and air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Test, test, test. All righty. You guys can take your seat. Oh.
Come on, give Starr another round of applause.
Oh, thank you so much, Lori. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Lori. I'm going to be singing a song that Lori asked me to sing in honor of our 25th year anniversary. It's called A Million Dreams. It's from The Greatest Showman. And I never heard the song before she asked me to sing it. And when I listened to the words, it just touched my heart so much because it really shows and it represents exactly, I think, how you must have been feeling when you started the Family Cafe 25 years ago. And so if you guys know the song and if you know the words, The words are going to be put up on the screen so you guys can sing along with me. But this song is called A Million Dreams by Pink, and I'm going to be singing it to you today, all right? I close my eyes and I can see a world that's waiting up for me that I call my own. Through the dark, through the door, through where no one's been before, but it feels like home. They can say it all sounds foolish. They can say that I've lost my mind. I don't care if they call me foolish. We can live in a world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams, it's all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. There's a house we can build. Every room inside is filled with things from far away. Special things I compile, each one there to make you smile on a rainy day. Oh. They can say it all sounds foolish. They can say that I've lost my mind. I don't care if they call me foolish. Run away to a world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams, it's all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. However big, however small, let me be part of it all. Share your dreams with me. We may be right, we may be wrong, but I'm gonna bring you along to a world I see, to a world we close our eyes to see. We close our eyes to see. Every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams, that's all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. For the world we're gonna make. Oh, for the world we're gonna make.
One more time for Starfields.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, guys.
Thank you again, Star. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Okay, now everyone has to, follow that. There we go. Again, thank you all for sharing today, this weekend, with the Family Cafe and myself. Let me introduce myself. I'm Lori Fahey, for those of you who don't know. I'm the president and CEO of the Family Cafe. And I just want to thank you all for being here and let you all know that we're being live streamed out through Facebook. So welcome to all those who are listening to the streaming at home. And I hope you all are enjoying the 25th Anniversary Family Cafe from the comfort of your couch or here in the chair, and that y'all had a good day. Today, we just had a special presentation, but before I introduce folks, thank you. Before I introduce everyone, I just want to remind you that we'll be giving away door prizes at the end, and a laptop and everything else like that. So if you haven't gotten if you haven't gotten a raffle ticket, please pick one up. And if you haven't gotten Keah, our Keynote speaker's book, please pick up one of those too. Just raise your hand and one of the Florida Youth Council members will deliver for you. Thank you so much. But you must be present to win the raffle ticket. As we said last night, we've been saying all along, 25 years. I don't know about y'all. That makes me old, fat, and tired. But thank you all. If this is your first time, please raise your hand. Fantastic. Welcome home. Welcome home to all of you. And everyone else, welcome back. Today we have one of our best sponsoring partners, and I'm going to ask Felicia Thomas, Vice President of Children's Medical Services, or as we know it, the CMS plan, who's operated by the sponsor, Sunshine Health, to come up and work with us as we introduce our morning keynote speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. You guys look amazing. Let me just say that from this view, this is a beautiful room, so good afternoon. I am Felicia Thomas, Vice President of Operations for Children's Medical Services Health Plan, also known as CMS. Most of you know us as CMS Health Plan, operated by Sunshine Health on the behalf of the Department of Health. CMS Health Plan is designed to support children with complex needs and their families. We're dedicated to improving the health of our communities, one person at a time. And one way we do this is really through our local and meaningful relationships, like with the Family Cafe. With our community partners statewide, we help to eliminate barriers that make accessing health care or just life a challenge for anyone and people with disabilities. We are extremely proud to be a supporter, a longtime supporter of the Family Cafe. Please make sure that you check out the old McDonald's Sensory Farm. It's a hit. If you haven't been there, please check it out before you leave today. The room is outfitted with equipment to help young people with special needs get personalized sensory input that helps them to calm and focus. So now, the moment you've all been waiting for, we have a star in the building today. We are excited, and I am honored, and I am privileged to introduce our keynote speaker today, Keah Brown. What can we say about her? She is an author, a journalist, a writer. Her work has appeared in several publications like Teen Vogue, Elle, Harper's Bazaar, and the New York Times, among others. A round of applause just for that. Keah was born with cerebral palsy, and her experiences led her to becoming a true leading voice for people with disabilities. And over the course of her life, she has overcome several struggles and barriers in her field. And eventually this led her and for her to make a decision to really start writing online and transforming into the powerhouse writer and author she is today. Over the course of her life, she has overcome continuous struggles, and she has made sure that she's put her footprint on everything that she touches and even realized it. She is the creator of the hashtag, if you haven't heard, disabled and cute. I like that, disabled and cute. People, you may have encountered this throughout some of her writings. People with both visible and invisible disabilities proudly post their photos and the hashtag, and she's empowered us and unifying a force on social media with people with disabilities. Keah's debut essay collection, The Pretty One, is out now. And so we want to make sure everyone's received a copy. There are limited copies here today and will be distributed today. I am looking forward, and you all should be ready to hear and listen Keah's story today as we welcome her on stage. Let's bring her on. With no further ado, please join me in welcoming Keah Brown to the stage.
Whoa, this is lower than I thought it would be. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with you today, celebrating the Family Cafe. I mean, can you believe it? 25 years. Goodness gracious. Lori, how did you do it? So I'm going to be looking at my phone today. I'm not going to be playing games. I just want to keep track of my speech. And I turned off my notifications, so if Viola Davis, for some reason, texts me, I'm missing her for this. Okay, so, like everybody said, my name is Keah Brown. I'm a journalist, author, screenwriter, aspiring actress, cheesecake lover, pizza eater, and I also really love Drew Barrymore and Mandy Moore and Paramore, but we'll get to that love later, I promise. First, I want to talk to you about dreams. I'm a big dreamer. I feel like I have gotten this far because I've dreamed big, because I knew what I wanted and I went after it, but also because I had amazing people in my corner ready and willing to help me get my dreams to come true. But that's sort of where I am now. I kind of want to start at the beginning, the way that all my favorite stories do. You see, I was born on a brisk September day in 1991. At least I think it was brisk. I'd have to ask my mom, but for this story, it's brisk, right? So on this brisk September day, I was born alongside my twin sister, Leah. And we were born months before we were supposed to be. We were supposed to be January babies, but we were born in September. So here I am, as a Virgo, sitting in front of all of you today, ready and willing to tell this speech. And what happened was when we were born premature. And so doctors were convinced that my sister and I would not walk, talk, see, or go to a regular school. Now, of course, there's nothing inherently wrong with any of those things, right? But it was really just the assumption that there was so many things we wouldn't be able to do just because we were born premature. And like all of you know in here, I'm sure, it's kind of fun to prove people wrong, right? It feels good. And absolutely. And so with every checkup, every doctor's appointment, every question, I feel like I did. I feel like I proved them wrong. And every time that I achieve something, I think about those doctors and the way in which they were so ready to write me and my sister off, and all the things that we've achieved since then. One of my favorite stories and first memories actually does involve my sister. See, she was my womb mate. That's what I call her. every year on our birthday. I'm like, I love you, roommate. She's like, oh, Keah, I love you too. But one of my favorite memories was that I used to walk into Leah's classroom at school and speak for her because she was a very shy kid. And she always was too shy to speak at school. So they would call me in and be like, hey, Keah, can you help us get Leah to speak? And so she would speak to me, which was great. We loved that. And then I would leave, and she'd stop speaking again. Now, a thing to know about my sister is that at home, my mom, Cheryl, she could not get us to shut up. All we would do was talk her ear off and our own. And so they were worried about Leah for a little bit, and they had this testing and answer sort of thing where they called me in to help Leah answer these questions. Except the problem was that I answered them for her. So while Leah was sitting next to me completely silent, I was the one doing the answering to the questions they were asking of her. And that went on for quite a while because we did school plays, and there was one in particular where my sister and I were tasked with talking about the Three Little Pigs, right? Everybody know about the Three Little Pigs? And so they were like, hey, this is your line, and this is her line, so make sure you say them. But before we could say anything, everybody in the class said, a noun is a person, place, or thing, like a sheriff, town, or ring. Now, I don't know why I remember that to this day, but it has stuck with me. Anyway, so, are you okay? Okay, good. All right, just checking. And so we get to our parts about the Three Little Pigs, and Leah is froze. She's panic-stricken. I can see the fear in her eyes. And so I do what any person who loves her sister would do. I say her lines and mine. And the crowd of teachers, students, and some parents went wild. And a star was born. I'm joking. I'm joking, of course, but I do find it to be really funny because a lot of people will meet me and they'll be like, were you shy as a kid? Were you like unsure of yourself because of your disability? And I'm like, no, my mom couldn't get me to shut up. Teachers couldn't get me to shut up. I was constantly talking, always eager to tell stories and meet people. And my sister was like, I'll just let her talk because, I always say that I took up the sort of like confidence and boisterousness in the womb. I'm like, I took it all, and you got to be without the disability, but I got the talking too much and the excitement to talk to people. And so much of our early life was me speaking for my sister because she was just like, Keah will do it. And then when I wasn't speaking for my sister, I actually started class earlier than the average person. I was starting school at like 8 months because doctors were so worried that I wouldn't be able to catch up because of my cerebral palsy that they put me in school early. But really what it did was made me the person that nobody wanted to sit next to because I couldn't stop talking. And so I spent my childhood being the sort of voice of my family, I was the person who was like the CEO of the household. So bless you. So if I wanted to talk to my sister and we were like, practicing cheers or trying to match outfits, I was like, okay, I'm gonna figure out how we can do this. I'm gonna make sure that this works. And so there's a home video of me trying to, as the older sister, because I'm older by 1 minute, and trust me, that 1 minute counts for everything. Every year I'm like, it was my birthday first, like I'm your older sister, and she's just like, oh God. Every year, Keah, I'm like, yep. And so there's a home video of us in my mom's, apartment where I'm trying to teach her how to put her shoes on the right feet. Now, mind you, I did not have my shoes on the right feet, but I knew where they should be. And then my mom points out that she's actually wearing 2 different color shoes. And so I realized that one of those shoes were mine. And then another fight broke out. And so she had to corral us on video camera to stop fighting so that she could take a cute video of us for memories. And so by the time that we were both in school, in classes, I was very eager and ready again to use my voice. You know, I was always ready to fight for what I felt was mine. I didn't have the feeling of, you know, quietness or being docile and just accepting what people expected of me. Instead, I was constantly talking about how I deserved a right to fair education, how I deserved to have something be accessible or safe or good for me. And a lot of that came from having a mom who was so eager to make sure that I knew that there was absolutely nothing wrong with me. And so if there's one thing that you take from this speech, it's that there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. Instead, what's wrong is really a world that is not designed for people like us. And so alongside my mom and my grandma and my aunts and my uncles and my cousins, I never felt like I was disabled. In fact, I didn't know that I was disabled until around the age of 12, because I lived in a community of people, in a family of people that were like, we're going to try our best to adapt the world for you. So if my twin sister got a skateboard, I got a skateboard. If she got a scooter, I got a scooter. If she got a bike, I got a bike. Did they always look the same? No, but that feeling of love always was the same. That idea that I could do anything that I put my mind to was the same. And so, alongside my sister and my older brother, who is 3 years older than us, but wanted nothing to do with us as kids, he was too busy doing boy things, we spent our summers at my grandma's house at a park up the street from her house. And alongside my twin sister and my two twin cousins, Michaela and Elaine, we would run up the hill as fast as we can, go to the park for hours. We'd play boondoggle, we'd go on field trips, we'd see kids who looked like us and kids who didn't. We'd play and play and play until all that we were was sweat stains and grass stains, and then we'd run back down to my grandma's house. She'd make us something to eat, we'd watch TV, and then we'd wait for our parents to pick us up. And so that time in my early childhood was everything to me, because I learned so much about who I am as a person from my grandmother. Like, I learned the importance of Little House on the Prairie and Bonanza and Stargate SG-1. And I learned about Serena Williams playing tennis and Tiger Woods playing golf. And I like to think of my grandmother often the way that I remember her best, and it's really her in this big orange chair. Like, I'd say 3 of these, and she would sit in the orange chair and watch TV, and we'd all be in the couch behind her, fast asleep. I mean, like, I'm talking a big family, right? So it's just like cousins piled up, head to feet, feet to head, just piled up around the couch, snoring until the cows come home while she's watching TV. And I always felt like as a kid, I had the best and the most supportive people in my corner. And I think that's what's made me who I am today, is knowing that yeah, absolutely. I would not be here today without my friends and my family. And so by the time that I got to school and by the time that I turned 12 specifically, I really learned that I deserved to be in every single room that I entered, that I belonged there. And then when I turned 12, things sort of shifted, because there was this kid whose name I cannot even remember. I was in the cafeteria eating lunch, and he was busy making fun of me, specifically making fun of the way that I walk. And that shifted everything for me, because that was the first time that I had seen anybody make fun of me and make me feel like I'm less than, right? So I really grappled with that for the rest of my middle school career, the rest of my high school career, all of college, and a couple of years afterward. I don't know, I never thought that I would give somebody that much power, but all it took was one moment where somebody made me feel small for me to allow that to be my narrative. Yeah, all it took was one moment, and it changed everything for me. And so what I had to do was sort of crawl back out of that, but it took a while. So I was desperate for connection. I thought, of course my family loves me, of course they think I'm great, but these people outside of my family, they don't see the same thing. And so I was desperate for somebody to prove that boy wrong, to prove what I thought was true wrong. And I found it eventually, that platonic love that I was after. I found it in my best friend, Ashley. We met my senior year of high school, and she is the most funny, kind, wonderful people I know. Like, on Mother's Day this year, we went to the Taylor Swift concert. And unfortunately, these sorts of venues are not the most accessible of things. And so I was standing in line, and my body was aching completely. And I didn't know what to do. I was like on the verge of tears. I didn't want to say anything because you never want to feel like you're a burden. But Ashley took one look at me. She grabbed my arm and she said, "Use me to support your weight." And I did. And it allowed me to do that until a wheelchair came. And I find myself surrounded by people like Ashley, surrounded by people who just want to see me succeed and will do whatever it takes to make sure that I'm comfortable and I'm safe and I feel good. And I think all of us deserve that. And so I found I call her the platonic love of my life. I found her, but I was still hungry for romance. I was still hungry to be the girl that gets the person in these rom-coms and to be the girl that feels beautiful under these like harsh lights in high school, right? So by the time that it became my senior year and prom was around the corner and everybody was being asked these big prom proposals, and I waited and waited and waited, and it didn't happen for me. But I can tell you this, I had the most gorgeous prom dress in the whole thing. It was black and pink, and it was like Cinderella, and I felt like the belle of the ball. And sure, I did go alone, and it sucked, but I had my friends and my family corralling me, excited for me, eager for me to have a good time. And I did, and I looked cute doing it. And then high school was over. I graduated. I fell out of what I thought was love with this guy who never really liked me back. He never liked me back, but I fell out of what I thought was love with him and told myself that college was going to be where I bloomed. College was going to be where I had everybody knocking on my door eager to date me, because all of these people that I was going to meet didn't know me through high school, didn't know me through middle school, and so on and so forth. So this was going to be my shot at love, But instead, what college ended up being for me was a place where I learned so much about myself. I have friends, and I met these wonderful people the way that you do when you go somewhere for the first time and you're there for a long time and you're like, you're my new family. I have to attach myself to you because I miss my family and I just want to be near people who understand me. And that's what college was for me. Finding more platonic loves, finding people who wanted to be in my life and didn't have that sort of feeling of obligation in any way. And they got me through some of the toughest times in my life thus far. My freshman year of college, I lost my grandma. And if it wasn't clear in the beginning of my speech, my grandma was one of my favorite people in the world. She saw my worth long before I ever did, and she saw it still long after I lost it. And I just think she died in 2009, right? But in many ways it feels like it just happened. She really saw me in a way that I never saw myself, and my friends were the people that got me through it. When I needed to get home, I was 4 hours away from home. One of my friends drove me home so that I didn't have to take the bus, so I could cry safely in her car while I was headed home for her funeral. When I had bad days, when I came back to school, they were there for me, and I tried my best to be there for them. My freshman year, my friend Lee, her lung collapsed 5 times in 1 year, collapsed 5 times. So we were constantly visiting her in the hospital and making sure that she was good and making sure that she felt like she was loved until she got out of, the hospital. And so our connections that we built in college with each other, I feel like will last a lifetime. The people that you meet in the most unexpected places, that's where it happens. That's where family exists, found family, the family that you're born with, but also the family that you choose. And so I went through college having these people who had my back and again wanted me to succeed and wanted me to win. And then came college graduation. Now, I graduated with a degree in journalism. And I very foolishly thought that I was going to graduate and get a job like 2 weeks after graduation. I was like, I have my degree. I wrote for the college paper. I'm in there. You're going to catch me on CNN. You're going to catch me on NBC. I had my pantsuits picked out. I was good to go. And the reality of that was it didn't happen. I would apply for these jobs, and sometimes I would get callbacks, and we'd go through multiple interviews, but it was the moment that I disclosed that I was disabled, those opportunities dried up. Yeah, is that illegal? Absolutely. But I had no way of proving it. But I could just tell that every time I mentioned, oh, by the way, I'm disabled, I have cerebral palsy, everything would dry up. Nobody wanted to answer any more calls, text messages, nothing. And so I spent a year after graduation with no job, just being supported by my mom because I had no other option. And because I had no other option and I still wanted to write and tell stories, I started writing online. I started writing articles for free at first because I was like, no one, I don't have a fan base. I don't have people ready and willing to hear me. And so then I got 2 unpaid internships. The first was at a place called Cliché Magazine. Now, Cliché Magazine is still around, but it's not the same. But at the time, it was a fashion digital magazine. So I was tasked with talking to celebrities about their TV shows and movies and YouTubers and asking them what their life is like. And then for the other magazine, it was Throde Magazine, and I talked about music and culture. And I was writing 4 to 5 articles a day, every single day, for both places, for free. And then I decided, I also want to tell different stories. I want to also tell my own stories. And so I decided to write my very first essay, and it was about me and my sister, and about how I was jealous of her for so long because she lives in a non-disabled body, and that I felt her beauty met my inherent lack of beauty. And it sold. It was the first thing I ever got paid for. It was $50. And that $50 felt like $500,000. I took a picture of the check. I had it framed. I took a picture of the article. I had that framed. I was so excited that somebody paid me for my work because it allowed me to see value in what I was talking about. And so that article led to the next, and so on and so forth. And I began writing in these places that I long ago read about. I began telling stories about my life and what it was like to be a person with a disability, and people were listening. They were reading. They were excited to hear from me. And that changed everything once again. So I went from a very precocious kid who knew herself and was confident and was, proud of who she was, to a young child who was not, and then back to an adult who was starting to see her worth. Now, these articles and everything going well made me start to think, oh, Keah, maybe you're not ugly just because your sister is pretty. Maybe there's something good about you, the person, writing these articles. So I did what anybody else would do. I started saying 4 things that I like about myself in the mirror. Now, these 4 things would be 3 physical and 1 non-physical. So I'll do it today. So today, I like my lips, my nose, my eyes, And I love the fact that my friends and family can depend on me. 4 things, every single day, day and night. And what happened was I really started to rethink all the things that I once said about myself after that kid made fun of me. I started to say, you know what, Keah, there are good things about you. And everything was going well in my career. So I would say the end of December 2016, just after Christmas, is when I started doing the 4 things. And by the time that February rolled around, I was excited to wake up every day. I was excited to be in the world. And so I wanted to celebrate. And I celebrated by creating #DisabledandCute. And what I did, thank you. And what that looked like for me was posting 4 pictures that I really liked of myself and saying, hey, fellow disabled people, like if you want to use this hashtag, you can, because guess what? We're disabled and cute. It's not an either or thing. And as a journalist, you're constantly on deadline. I'm constantly being emailed by editors like, hey, is this ready yet? Don't forget, you gotta write this thing. And so I left Twitter, where I posted Disabled and Cute for the first time, and I went back to writing my article. By the end of that first week of February 12th, 2017, we were viral. And this is when virality actually meant something. So like it was really reaching people. And by the end of the next week, we were global. So they were talking about my hashtag in Spain, Japan, Russia, Paris. They were talking about... Yeah, they were talking about it all around the world in languages I do not understand. I just knew from other people that it was positive, which we love. And I started to really see myself, I feel like, for the first time. I let go of the idea that there was something wrong with me, that I was a burden because some kid in a middle school cafeteria said as much. Because he was uncomfortable with the way that I was as a person does not mean that I have to be uncomfortable with who I am as a person. And what I hope for all of you is that you leave here today knowing that you deserve to take up space, that you deserve to be the people who tell your own stories, that you are the people who should be telling your own stories. And so I took that time in the hashtag and I kept going, kept writing articles, I kept pushing forward, and by the end of that year, I had a literary agent. His name is Alex Slater, and we've been working together ever since. And the cool thing about Alex is that he won me over out of 8 literary agents who wanted to talk to me to write a book. And with those 8 literary agents, I did like a platonic, professional speed dating thing where I had them each call me and tell me why they wanted to work together, why they would be the best fit for me, and also what they wanted to do. Because I knew from my grandma and from my aunts and my uncles and my mom that you have to corral one thing into the other. So I didn't want it to be just a quick passing book about a hashtag. I wanted to make this my career. And so Alex, my literary agent, and I sat down and we thought about writing an essay collection, which became The Pretty One. And it's the book here today, and The Pretty One is a memoir. And it's a memoir of essays about my life thus far, but also it's a memoir about a girl who was just desperate to exist in the world and be proud of that. And I find myself so grateful to be here today and to be able to write those sorts of books. And so The Pretty One has changed my life in so many ways. I ended up on the Today Show. I did a book event in Los Angeles with Roxanne Gay. I ended up on BuzzFeed's morning show in New York City. I mean, it really changed my life, and it made me realize that people actually care about the stories of disabled people. It's just about opportunity, you know? Anything is possible with the proper opportunity. And I think that we live in a world that is finally starting to see the value of disabled people. And so after The Pretty One came Sam Supersedes. And Sam Supersedes happened because there's an essay in The Pretty One where I talk about chairs. Now, as a disabled person who needs to sit often, I talk about the fact that chairs are my longest relationship. You know, I have been in a relationship with chairs all my life. We are completely committed to each other. We love each other, and sometimes they're great chairs, sometimes they're not. But I really made fun of the idea of like having to sit down and having to rest my body, and I gave chairs personality traits. Now, this chapter led to my second book, Sam Supersedes. And Sam Supersedes happened because my editor read that chapter and was like, do you want to talk about rest for children? Now, I'm a Virgo, right? So as a Virgo, I have a 10-year plan. Writing a children's book was on my 10-year plan. So I was like, absolutely, sign me up. And 1 year later, so last year, 1 year later, with art and the words and, you know, my excitement, Sam Supersedes happened. And I told the story about a little girl named Sam who was going back to school shopping with her mom and her two best friends. And I wanted to make sure that I pictured Sam having a big community of people who love her. Because I think a lot of you in this room can attest to it. At your best times and your worst times, you need people in your corner to make you feel like you can keep going. I'm so grateful that I have both my friends and my family. Some of my family is here today, and they're my biggest support system. And I wanted to make sure that Sam had that support system. And the really cool thing to me about Sam Supersedes is that I got to do an Instagram Live with one of my favorite people in the world, Mandy Moore. Now, I told you earlier, yes. Now, I told you earlier, I am a super fan of Mandy's and Drew Barrymore and Paramore. I actually call them the House of Moore. She always giggles whenever I say it. She's like, okay, Keah. And I got to do an Instagram Live with her to talk about my book, and it really brought everything full circle for me because I got to thank her for being there as her characters, you know, when I needed them most. And so we really got to have a fantastic conversation, and I'm so grateful for her friendship. But I'm also grateful for everything that The Pretty One brought me, because The Pretty One was people's introduction to me and the work that I do. Like, one of the first things that I did when I interviewed Selma Blair for Town and Country magazine in like 2020, 2021, was tell her, like, I love your work, I think it's great, like, I'm excited to talk to you because her documentary came out that year. And one of the first things she said back to me was, your book, The Pretty One, I loved it so much, I read it in one day. Like, and I was floored, I didn't know what to say. And she was like, I would love to be your friend. And I was like, okay, then we're friends now. You know what? I was like, absolutely, I'm always on the hunt for friends. And what sparked is a really beautiful friendship where we get to talk about red carpet gowns and the Met Gala and what it's like to make a movie. And then we can also talk about bad pain days and what it's like to be a disabled person. You know, she's got her own battle with MS, and I find that one of the most beautiful things about our friendship is the ability to talk about all the things we love and the reality of disability. And so with The Pretty One and Sam Supersedes, I'm riding a high. You know, at this point I'm like, things are going good, everything is great, I love it here. And then I had to really figure out a way to detach my worth from my work, right? So I was like, okay, I'm going back to therapy, I'm gonna figure out how to love myself without having to be productive. And so I took like 3 or 4 months off of all my stuff, and I just hyper-focused on therapy and making sure that I was in a good place. And that place allowed me to then feel comfortable enough to write my most recent book, which is called The Secret Summer Promise. It's a fiction story about a girl named Andrea who wants to have the best summer of her life. And she spent her last summer dealing with a surgery because she also has cerebral palsy, and she wanted to make sure that this one was her best summer yet. and she realizes that she's falling in love with her best friend, and she doesn't want to, risk anything and lose her best friend, so she tries to hide her feelings, and then chaos ensues. Now, as a person who has written 3 books, I have to say this one is my magnum opus so far. It's my favorite book. It's the favorite thing I've ever written, and I love it so much. So if you leave here today and you're like, I also want to read a book about somebody falling in love with their best friend, you can absolutely buy The Secret Summer Promise on top of The Pretty One. But what I realize, though, now, as a 31-year-old who has spent her life trying to figure out what it means to be a person and what it means to be happy and what it means to choose joy every day, I realize that these sorts of stories are the stories that matter, that it doesn't have to be a big, fantastical story where, I fight dragons, or, I get into a bar fight with a guy who looked at me wrong, or I don't know, what are people doing that's exciting? Anything. It doesn't mean, I just don't have to have a big fantastical story in order for somebody to want my story or to hear it. And I find that even though my favorite stories start at the beginning, we all have a story to tell, and I cannot wait to hear the stories that you tell someday. So thank you so much.
With the mic's on. Thank you so much, Keah. That was phenomenal. And I know that just based on your story, I know we have some questions in the audience. I do think we have a little time to take a few questions from anyone in the audience that I know you're ready to answer.
Yes, I love a good Q&A. Please.
Love a good Q&A. So let's get the Q&A going. Any questions in the audience? There's some mics out there. Who do we have? Anyone with a question for Keah? Raise your hand. Here we go, Joe. We have one up here in the front.
Hold on, there we go, I can see you.
Good evening. I'm Patricia Powell. My question to you is, what prompted you to write your story?
Well, it was really a desire to see myself. I grew up on stories written by people who did not look like me and did not understand my lived experience. And I love those books. I cherish them. One of my favorite books in the world is Dear Mr. Henshaw by Beverly Cleary, and it made me want to be a writer. But I wanted to be able to have people see themselves in these stories as well. So it allowed me to be like, maybe it could help somebody. It made it easier, too. Thank you for that question.
Yes. Thank you. Any other questions in our audience? Any others? Do we have anybody? Oh, we have one up front here.
Come right here.
Oh, we'll go here first.
Here we
Thank
go.
you.
Here we go.
Hi, Keah. My name is
Hi.
Rebecca Crosby. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. I resonate so much with it. My question for you is, you mentioned that you are a screenwriter and aspiring actress.
Yes.
So what would be your ideal role to play? Would it be something that you've written yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I'm currently writing a movie right now that is a rom-com. Like my dream role is to be the heroine in a romantic comedy. I'm also co-writing a musical. I can't sing, so that's off the table. But I can write the songs, So I'd love to star in a romantic comedy, for sure. Thank you. Yeah. Anybody else?
Yes, we have one right over here. Yeah.
I really appreciate your story. I think we all can relate to that middle school or elementary school or high school moment where somebody says something and it sits with us.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask, because my daughter is 8, and when they get older, children notice differences more so than they do when they're younger.
Yes.
And you said you have a very supportive family. We are supportive too. But I'm wondering, what do you think parents could do when their children are facing those moments, like what happened to you at 12?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fantastic question. I think it's a lot of what my mom did for me, and that's just remind them at home of their value and their worth so that by the time you get to a place where a child is saying something, you won't be able to protect them from that, but it will help ease it a little bit. Like when I came home that day crying to my mom about what the kid said, she was so loving and kind and patient that even though in hindsight I was like, oh girl, you're only saying that because you're my mom, it helped me realize later just how good I had it because she was constantly reminding me, like, I love you, you're valued, you know, there's nothing wrong with you, everything about you is perfectly fine, you're just as good as anybody else. And so it did, you know, that moment when I was 12, it really did impact me. But I will say, having the memory of my mom just constantly being supportive and kind and wonderful helped me get back to where I am today because I knew that I had that. I knew that when I went home at night and during the day that I could just be my full self, even if it was somebody hurting me at school. I knew I had a safe space there. So all I can say to you is just make sure that your child knows that they're loved and just keep reassuring them even when it feels like it can be a little repetitive. That constant reassurance helps so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. Any other? I think we have one right here in the middle aisle.
Thank you for your amazing story. I too am a writer. I live vicariously through my literary interpretation.
Yeah.
When I was coming up, I was a dreamer. And if you ever know the story of Walter Mitty,
Yes.
I lived through him. Okay? My question to you is, because you were a dreamer,
Yeah.
did your dreams become mastersized to a point where it was everything that you ever wanted because you couldn't do the things you needed to do?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's sort of the nature of dreams, right? It's like either they're really, really good and everything works out the way you want it to, and then sometimes it doesn't. You know, there have been plenty of times, I'd say, especially after The Pretty One came out, that I had these grandiose ideas of what publication should look like. I wanted desperately to be on the New York Times bestsellers list. I wanted to be everywhere, but I just didn't end up being. But I think what I had to remind myself was just because one dream doesn't come true or a part of one dream doesn't come true doesn't mean the dream wasn't worth it. Doesn't mean that it can't, you know, happen one day. It's just not happening right now. And so whenever I feel like I'm dreaming, you know, too big and like something doesn't happen when I want it to, I just remind myself that that's not an inherent no, it's just a not right now. Yeah. Right, because there are going to be so many people, thank you. There are going to be so many people in your life that say no to you. You just have to make sure that you're not one of them. Do not say no to yourself. You always say yes to yourself and your dreams, and you'll get there. You will.
That is absolutely so true and amazing. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, I have one more. I have one.
Yeah,
We've got one more over here too afterwards.
I wanted to know if you could speak for a brief second about finding a therapist that understood like disability plus life and how those things interact with each other.
Yeah, I mean,
or don't.
Yeah, I mean, I really lucked out because in college I had a therapist who did not at all understand the reality of disability. And it was just because, like, I still went because it was provided by the college, and I'm a broke college student, so you got to do what you got to do. But my therapist I actually found through my old doctor's office, and I did a couple of, like, meetings with a couple of therapists, and it felt like she was just the right fit. So it was really just about asking my doctor for recommendations and then cycling through those recommendations and then finding a person that fit. But it's definitely not an easy process because there are some things you don't want to have to explain, And it's really nice to finally be in a place where I don't have to explain, my disability in order for it to work. But it really is about trial and error. Unfortunately, you have to just cycle through some people to find the right person. But I highly encourage you to do it.
Thank you.
We've got one more back here, too.
One more.
My name is Serena, and I've been bullied for most of high school and some of college. And my question for you is, how do you keep yourself from bullying yourself because you remember the vitriol from high school and college? How do you break that cycle internally?
Oh, well, that's a fantastic question. I think I'm very much intentional about asking for help and letting the people in my life know that when I'm not doing well, I'm very intentional about telling people that I'm not doing well. So I'll talk to my friends or my family members and I'll say, I'm really burned out and I'm really tired. And I allow them to encourage me to take some days off and to just sit with my feelings. And that and therapy and listening to music and watching rom-coms and calling it research. Watching rom-coms and calling it research is my favorite pastime. And sometimes I'll do the thing where I'll live post about them on social media. So my favorite movie in the world is A Walk to Remember. So yes. So whenever I post about it, Mandy will message me and be like, oh, I'm glad you're watching it again. But yeah, I try really hard to ask for help when I'm feeling burnt out and when I'm feeling like internally I can't handle my own sort of negative feelings. I tell myself, okay, if you're not feeling your best about yourself, literally look to the people who love you and ask them to hold you up, because that's what love and care is allowing people to hold you up when you feel like you're at your worst and you feel like you can't really keep going. Use the people in your life that love you and let them hold you up when you don't feel like you can.
Wow. That's good. I don't think we have any more questions, but I know we have one more. Do we have time for one more? One more.
Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm an autism self-advocate, and I'm thankful for your story and you told. I have a 7-year-old cousin with cerebral palsy as well, and your story has helped me understand it more and everything else, and I hope that we get a chance to connect and maybe spread awareness for disabilities across this world. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Nice to meet you.
Well, Keah, I thank you so much. And everyone, let's give Keah another round of applause. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Now, Keah, before Keah goes off stage, she's not leaving us.
No.
She's just going to go down to that table and sign your books, have more intimate conversations with y'all. She's going to stick around. But before she leaves the stage, here at the Family Cafe, we have a way of honoring folks. I call it the story of the rose, because you knew you did something right back in the day when someone knocked on your door and there were roses. This came from Justin Dart. Now, you know who Justin Dart is, right? Okay. So Justin Dart is, for those who don't know, he's the godfather of the disability movement. We are all here in part because of folks like Judy Heumann, who we discussed yesterday, Justin Dart. Well, he passed away, and his wife, Yoshiko, allows us to share this story and this conversation and this honor that we bestow on some of our guest speakers. So, as I said, he was a great leader of the international disability rights movement and a renowned human rights activist, widely recognized as the father of the Americans with Disabilities Act. the godfather of the disability rights movement. Through the end of his life, Justin Dart remained dedicated to his vision of a revolution of empowerment. When Justin Dart knew that someone had accomplished a great feat or had done a great job, he sent them roses to let them know how much he appreciated and needed them to lead on. You knew you did good when the roses arrived. So we thought this was a great way to recognize those who make a difference. So I asked his friends and family of the Family Cafe if they would, of Justin Dart, I'm sorry, if they'd help carry forward this tradition. We wanted to recognize good work and honor that same part of commitment to people with disabilities by presenting roses to the people that make a difference, both to thank them and to encourage them to carry on. So now I want to say to you, thank you for such a great job. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. Thank you for caring, and thank you, as in the words of Justin, there is nothing I have accomplished without reaching out to empower others. As appreciation for what you have done for a truly good job, we present these roses behind you.
Oh my God, they're gorgeous. They're heavy.
They're very heavy. We'll take them
Yeah,
down.
I was gonna say I don't know if we'll be able to make it.
Can you hold them while we take pictures? Do you want
Yeah,
to stand up? For the
yeah, I'll
picture?
stand for the picture. Woo.
It's a comfy chair.
It's a comfy chair. It's
You
just
got up
low.
much faster than I did from that chair when I sat down on it earlier.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And thank you again. And like I said, she's going to be right down there.
Right down there. Thank you, everyone.
Now, we have another honor. Now, we did this last night. Jim? We talked about this great honor. You want to tell about the honor, or you want me to? Okay. Last night, if you came to the Governor's Summit, how many people came to the Governor's Summit last night and listened to the Lieutenant Governor speak? Well, if you weren't here, you missed it. She was fantastic. We had a great show. And one of the folks that we honored for their leadership through what we call the Bill Galvano Leadership Award. Now, this award has been given to two people. This year, we have awarded this presentation. I feel like Taylor Swift when I come here. I think I swallowed a bug. Did it yesterday. I can see it. I open my mouth, I breathe in, and down it goes. So everyone needs a little protein. I'm sorry. Senator Ana Maria Rodriguez is this year's winner of the Family Cafe Bill Galvano Leadership Award. Senator was not here last night. She drove early this morning to attend. So we'd like to take a moment to take some pictures with her and give her an opportunity if she wants to say anything. I know you're tired. Yep.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and I want to thank Lori, Jim, and all of my Family Cafe fellow colleagues and board members for this beautiful, beautiful tribute. I wasn't able to be here last night when it was presented, and so I appreciate you taking this opportunity to present it now. But it is a very near and dear organization to my heart, the Family Cafe, and each and every one of you here today and throughout the week, this is for you. This is for you because everything that we do, this award, I know it's being given to me, but I feel like we as a team, you know, we work very hard to go to Tallahassee every year, to secure the funding that we secure, to be able to put this event on and to keep this organization running and serving to help you in your journeys throughout life. And so I'm so happy to be here. I'm so honored to receive this award named in honor of Bill Galvano. And as I texted him yesterday when I saw that I was receiving the award online. I said, you know, I feel like I'm standing on the shoulder of giants. The people that have allowed me to be here are people like Bill Galvano, people like Lori, Angelita, who brought me on board, all of you here. Thank you. This award is for you for allowing me to help you and serve you here in the state of Florida. So thank you.
Why they want to take a picture, I want you all to realize when she says all the hard work, she does do hard work. She is a friend of the Family Cafe, and to each and one of you. It's not easy, and she takes my text and my email and our phone calls. Anytime, she answers them all. That's a great honor. So let's give her another round of applause. Now, Jeremy's going to come up, and we're going to do the raffle prizes for us all. So I'm going to ask the Florida Youth Council to bring up the tickets. I'll get the prizes. We'll give it a roll.
Hey, if you are here in the room and this belongs to you, it's up here. This is somebody's case. It's got some medications in it, so I'm sure whoever lost it will be looking for it. If you're not in here, it'll be at Lost and Found.